This is a Saturday night news. We have a lot lined up for you, ranging from politics, matters, religion, to stories of interest happening around you. And on the feature story of the night, Joash Onsari paints a picture of the desperation of wild animals that once enjoyed their stay in Africa's hub of wildlife. Now, they stare at a risk of losing their home. Wildlife tears in the city. The future of Nairobi National Park hangs in the balance as wildlife lovers condemn constant threat from external forces. Good evening and welcome. I am Linda Alela. Let's first take a look at the highlights of the day.
Former Gatanga Member of Parliament Peter Kenneth says he's ready to work with President Uhuru Kenyatta amid a cabinet reshuffle talk.
Mwelekeo yetu ni sisi tuone ya kwamba tuko kwa serikali.
Governor Wycliffe Oparanya leads a BBI-coded meeting in Kakamega, rallying the leaders in the region to unite behind President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga. Plus, Athi River Shalom Hospital has been cordoned off and closed to new patients following deaths linked to COVID-19. And tonight we tell you why wildlife lovers should be really concerned about the future of Nairobi National Park that is under constant threat from external forces.
Interact with us, hashtag Saturday Night News, our Twitter handles at Linda_Lela, at TV47, Facebook at TV47, and you can as well stream live on YouTube at TV47. And Saturday Night News begins now. Our sign language interpreter is Faith Cheptile. Now let's get to it. As Kenya has registered the highest ever new COVID-19 cases in a 24-hour period. The country recorded 278 more coronavirus positive cases from 4,074 samples tested in the last 24 hours. This brings the COVID-19 national tally to 5,811. And in terms of distribution per county, Nairobi is leading with 171 cases, followed by Mombasa with 37, Nakuru 17, Kiambu 12, Busia 10, Uasin Gishu 9, Kajiado 4, and Migori 3 cases. During the daily COVID-19 briefing held, Chief Administrative Secretary Dr. Mercy Mwangangi also revealed that 31 people were discharged from various hospitals after full recovery. The number of recoveries has now increased to 1,936. Sadly, 4 people succumbed to the virus, bringing the national death toll from the virus to 141. And to the politics of the day, no, away from politics, traders in Gikomba Market woke up to another bad morning just a day after a fire destroyed their property. This time, it was not a fire gutting their wares, but unknown people demolishing the structures they had started rebuilding following the Thursday morning fire. Even the permanent structures in the area were all flattened. Only one structure, which is still under construction, was left standing.
It was another sad morning for these traders in Gikomba Market. A day after fire destroyed property worth hundreds of millions of shillings in the market, unknown people descended on the structures the traders had started rebuilding. All were demolished, including the permanent structures. The residents and traders suspect foul play in the whole saga and claim the owners of a building under construction wants to use the field as a parking lot. According to Jane Wangui, a bulldozer brought down the structures at night after they were told to vacate with immediate effect.
Tuliambiwa tutoke, tulifurushwa hata kuna pewa nafasi toka na bulldozer inabomoa nyumba hata karibu tugongwe na mawe.
This happened even after the Interior Permanent Secretary Karanja Kibicho visited the market on Thursday and promised the traders that private developers seeking to grab the land for private use will be unmasked. Kibicho said the frequent fires are not natural accidents.
We urge you to be cooperative with the security agencies, with our intelligence agencies, so that we can at last bring these guys who caused this to book and face justice.
The traders and residents are now counting losses running into hundreds of millions of shillings. More than 10,000 people depend on this market for their daily livelihood.
Kwa majina naitwa Bernard Chanda Kanuna, ni mfanyakazi wa hapa Kikomba. Nilikuwa na store kama 3 na zimechomekea hapa, na tulikuwa tumeanza kujenga, wamepomoa tena. Sasa hatujui what is next.
Hata hii serikali hii hakuna mwananchi inafikiria hata kidogo. Manake kama ungekuwa natufikiria hii nyumba tuseme for example ndio inafanya hii kitu yote.
Serikali yetu wanajaribu kutuambia nini? Ama sisi hatufai kuishi? Ama hii Kenya ni wale matajiri ndio inafaa waishi hapa? Are we not Kenyans? What I'm asking Uhuru Kenyatta, are we not Kenyans? Na hiyo kiti amekalia, kama sio sisi angekalia hiyo kiti. Sisi hatufai. Hatufai sisi. Mbona anatufanyia hivi? Anataka tuende wapi? Mimi hapa nilikuwa naishi hapa, nafanya kazi hapa. Sasa nimebaki empty.
Eli Logova, TV47, Nairobi.
Unfortunate indeed. And now to the politics of the day. Kakamega Governor Wycliffe Oparanya today led a number of Western leaders in meeting the elderly and opinion leaders from Kakamega County. The meeting, which was meant to sensitize the elderly on COVID-19 preparedness, however, could not end without politics taking center stage. The leaders equally urged the Mulembe Nation to fully support the truce between President Uhuru Kenyatta and ODM leader Raila Odinga, saying the region stands a big chance to benefit through the same. Mulindi Kerry with the details.
The day started off at the Kakamega airstrip, where Devolution CS Eugene Wamalwa led other leaders in launching rehabilitation of the airstrip to modern standards.
Leo tumekuja hapa kuzindua mradi wa 174 million.7. Hiyo phase 1 mtaona hii lami ikibomolewa. Tunataka waweke ile lamu iko thick, ile inaweza chukua uzito wa ndege kubwa ziingie hapa kwetu Kakamega.
They would later make their way to Masinde Muliro University Multipurpose Hall, where 100 of elderly persons from Kakamega County were gathered. Busia Governor Sospita Ojamong, Vihiga Governor Wilberforce Otichilo, Bungoma's Wycliffe Wangamati and the host Wycliffe Ambetsa Oparanya were in attendance. The leaders underscored the importance of Mulembe Nation, speaking with one voice ahead of the 2022 general election.
Watu wetu wa jimbo la Western lazima tuingie kwa serikali. Hatuwezi kubali watu nje. Kwa vile pesa nyingi iko kwa national government.
Imekuwa vigumu sababu tulikubaliana na wenzetu. Hii Ford Kenya na ANC is dividing us. Why don't you merge these parties? Alafu mkimaji hiyo vyama, sisi wote tukue pamoja, tutoe mipaka, tuende mbele. Sijui kama mlisikia hiyo story. Walikubali last year, up to now imekuwa ni kitendawili, kimewashinda kutegua, na tukiendelea kungoja, we will wait until the chickens come home to roost.
What surprised many is the luxury this group of leaders enjoyed without disturbance from the police, unlike their counterparts, believed to be anti-BBI who were tear-gassed even at their own homes, begging the question whether the country has two sets of laws.
We cannot be a people who are stuck in the book of Lamentations. Let us open another chapter. There are other chapters in the Bible apart from the book of Lamentations. Let us move to implementation after years of lamentation.
Hata wale wajakuja hapa, lawa liko hapa, paka ukue hapa. Ndio kwa sababu tunasema sisi, mwelekeo yetu ni sisi tuone ya kwamba tuko kwa serikali.
This is happening as ANC leader Musalia Mudavadi is staying put with his 2022 presidential bid, asking Wamalwa, Oparanya and other Western leaders for their support. Some residents have, however, criticized the move to congregate the elderly in the wake of COVID-19.
Kwa sababu mikutano kama hii ambayo ni ya kinyume kishetani, mikutano ambayo ni hatari, inastahili kukabiliwa na kusimamishwa. Lakini wizara ambayo inahusika, utaona askari wakiwa pale wakitoa ulinzi, mkutano haramu ukiendelea. Halafu kesho yake mkutano mwingine unapo kuwepo wa ule upande ambao unaonekana kuwa haumo katika serikali, unapingwa, unasambaratishwa.
Mulindi Kerry, TV47 in the county of Kakamega.
The Interfaith Council has worked out and developed a working plan that will be observed in the phased reopening of religious activities. The council is, however, calling upon all Kenyans to present their views before drafting a final report on July the 2nd and later present it to the President for further deliberations. Elido Gova reports.
Addressing media Saturday, the Interfaith Council admitted receiving views from different religious groups and has now come up with a working plan on the resumption of religious activities. The final report will be complete by 2nd July before being presented to the President not later than 6th of the same month.
Tayari tumewasiliana na tukawa na mikutano ya kusikiza maoni ya viongozi wa makanisa Jumatano iliyopita, na tukawa na zaidi ya viongozi 400 ambao walihudhuria na tukapata maoni yao. Kwa sasa tuko katika kazi hii ya kuangalia hayo maoni yote, kuyaunda kwa njia ambayo sasa tunaweza toa zile zinaitwa guidelines.
The council has, however, rubbished claims that some religious groups have been left out of the consultations that are being conducted. The council chairman, Anthony Muheria, says the council will conduct meetings in 10 regions around the country in a bid to get views from all religious outfits and Kenyans.
We are also still inviting any specific groups that were not able to submit to do so within this weekend. And so we want to bring that on board, listen. This Interfaith Council wish to listen, hear both the expert advice from the Ministry of Health. They've given us very many presentations and educated us. We also listen to the capacities and the possibilities of our faith congregations of different traditions.
With the council left with barely 1 week to complete its mandate, Kenyans remain optimistic that the government will consider some of the council recommendations and lift suspension of religious activities in the country. Eli Logova, TV47, Nairobi.
Elsewhere, Athi River Shalom Hospital in Machakos County has been closed following reports of 7 confirmed COVID-19 cases in the hospital. This is as the number of coronavirus cases in the country rises to 5,811 after 278 more people tested positive in the last 24 hours. Zainab Mohammed with the details.
On Saturday morning, patients and staff of Athi River Shalom Hospital in Machakos County found themselves at a confused state after the hospital was closed down on Friday night following the contraction of COVID-19 by 6 patients and 1 health worker. According to Thomas Ndolo, an administrator at the hospital, the frustrated staff arrived at the hospital to release the night shift staff as is their usual routine, only to be blocked from accessing the hospital.
Our hospital was closed at 9:30 p.m. And it is so unfortunate that every responsible person in management had left the facility. Yeah? And I was notified and I came back, only to realize that I cannot enter, nobody can enter, nobody can get out. Now, I even asked the Askaris, now what do you mean? Because we have doctors on call. Yeah, what we have obstructed labor, what we have emergencies, what do we do? So I told that that's the order that has been given, and I was very, very mad.
The hospital that is reported to have about 180 staff and patients currently locked inside is being blamed for not providing adequate information to the government on its COVID-19 status, an accusation vehemently denied by the hospital staff.
The last 2 weeks, we have been experiencing increase in patients who are suspected cases. We usually follow the protocol. When we suspect them from our fever clinic, we usually report to the county through the sub-county and then give names, location, age, and all the biodata. Then we test. If they have no keys, we procure ours and we test. and then we wait for the results. The results are done at Machakos level 5, and they pass through the sub-county, and they have a copy for every test that have been done here. Now, if tests turn positive, it's not our it's not our mistake. It should not be taken like it's our mistake.
4 deaths related to COVID-19 have also been reported from the hospital, as the government says it's necessary for all hospitals to be fully prepared to treat COVID-19 cases so as to avoid cross-infections in health facilities.
Indeed, what we are noticing is that in this particular case, there was cross-infection. And our teams are currently on the ground as we speak, teams from the Ministry of Health collaborating with county government teams to ensure that measures are put in place.
The government further says new health workers will be deployed to Athi River Shalom Hospital with adequate PPEs in order to relieve the currently overburdened health workers quarantined in the facility.
Healthcare workers who are there, we are trying to ensure that they are rotated because they cannot continue working. And we are working on a modality where fresh group of staff can go in with the proper fitting of PPE, and we have made sure that the adequate PPE has been available at the hospital.
For TV47, I'm Zainab Mohammed.
All right, it is time that Saturday Night News takes a short break. Remember, we'll be coming back with more news, including that a feature story prepared by Joash Onsari on the danger that is posed on wild animals in Nairobi National Park as the park continues to face external danger or external threats. So keep it right here. Saturday Night News will be back. Saturday Night News is back. Thank you for choosing to stay with us. Let's proceed. Former Gatanga Member of Parliament Peter Kenneth has said he is ready to support President Uhuru Kenyatta in delivering the Big Four agenda. Speaking at his backyard constituency on Saturday, where he joined other leaders from the Kieleweke faction within the Jubilee Party, Kenneth has further supported the ongoing purge within Jubilee. Our reporter David Mudhoga was in Gatanga and filed this report.
A return into government seems imminent for former Gatanga MP Peter Kenneth. Speaking at Mabai Primary School in Gatanga constituency, where residents were receiving a variety of water harvesting and storage items on Saturday, Kenneth has pledged to back President Uhuru Kenyatta in the latter's quest to deliver on his Big Four agenda. President Uhuru Kenyatta is hell-bent on reshuffling his cabinet, with Kenneth among leaders touted as potential candidates to join Kenyatta's cabinet.
Kwa hivyo ile ambao ningesema, mimi niko tayari kusaidia rais, na nimemsaidia hata wakati huu. Hii miaka miwili atimize ile ambayo anataka kutimizia Wakenya.
Kenneth assuring residents that the Jubilee government intends to intensify developments across the county and the country as Kenyatta approaches home stretch in his second and final term.
Viongozi wako hapa, wakati huo ukifika, iwe tumepitisha BBI vile nchi itakuwa, tutakaa chini kama jamii na kiongozi wa jamii ya Mlima Kenya, tujipange kusonga mbele.
However, Kenneth has sounded a warning to other leaders within the ruling Jubilee Party who are blowing hot and cold.
Mtu achaguliwe kuwa rais, alafu wale ambao walisaidia wengine wakachaguliwa ndio wanazunguka wakienda wakimtusi. Hiyo si heshima. Hata kama we mwenyewe upendi Bwana Uhuru, patia ile kiti ameketi heshima. Manake kesho unaweza taka kiti gani? Kiti hiyo.
The former Gatanga MP was joined by the leaders from the Kieleweke faction within Jubilee, who also welcomed the ongoing purge within Jubilee. The leaders include incumbent Gatanga MP Nduati Ngugi, MPs Peter Kimari and Mugambi Gishuki from Mathioya and Othaya constituencies respectively. The MPs were part of an envoy of leaders who toured Gatanga constituency to oversee development projects in the constituency.
Rais wetu Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta amepatia watu wengine kazi na wameshindwa kufanya hiyo kazi. Mimi nataka niulize rais, kama tuko na kijana wetu na anajulikana CDF yake ilikuwa namba 1 Kenya mzima, na anajulikana Kenya mzima kwa kufanya kazi, tunasikia kuna mpango huko nayo, wewe tuangalilie huyo kijana wetu, kwani akikalia kiti ni mbaya?
We have already seen it happening in the National Assembly. We have seen it in the Senate. Soon and soon, I have heard the prayer of the Member of Parliament here. We also pray that it shall happen, that his prayer shall come to be. And perhaps you are talking about the son of the soil becoming a cabinet secretary. Siyo ndio ile mambo inaomba.
Yes, and moving on, the world's largest migration involving more than 2 million animals started in Kenya in mid-June. Still, wildlife reserves, conservancies and parks have closed their gates as tourists have stayed home, hitting the continent's multi-billion tourist industry hard. And as Tracy Mukami reports, only local tourism will save the industry.
This is usually SafariLink Aviation's busiest time of the year, with 15 daily flights ferrying international tourists to various remote resorts in Kenya. However, that is not the case this year.
Typically during this period, we carry about, just going to the Mara, almost 10,000 passengers per month. So as you can see, all our aircraft are all parked. So there's nobody really going to witness this magnificent spectacle.
The advent of COVID-19 and its containment measures spelled doom for people depending on tourism for their livelihoods.
Of course, there's a whole community around those conservancies that are definitely impacted and affected by visitors going up north. All the people who provide the groceries, the food, the guides, the housekeeping, the barmen.
However, the industry is adjusting to the new normal. In the heart of Kenya's capital, Nairobi's National Park, one campsite run by Safari Company Game Watchers reopened on June 12th.
We really also affected financially, psychologically, and also our guests were locked out. So the feeling that today we have opened up, even with the conditions, is great. It is a good feeling for us and both our clients.
The camp adheres to strict health guidelines, testing its staff for COVID-19 and doing temperature checks for visitors. Local tourism is highly encouraged during this pandemic period as international flights are still grounded.
Okay. Bye. Welcome again. Very good.
Tracy Mukami, TV 47.
And the government has started planting new species of trees to turn Kaptagat forest into an indigenous forest from an exotic one. The move is aimed at helping to curb the perennial landslide problem in Elgeyo Marakwet and conserve the environment.
Environment CS Keriako Tobiko says Kaptagat Forest will be gazetted as an important water tower in the next 2 weeks.
Kaptagat is a critical water tower. In 2 weeks, we will gazette it as such, and it will be converted. Actually, the process has already started. Reconverted into an indigenous, native, pristine forest.
CS Tobiko has, however, warned residents of Elgeyo Marakwet to stop grazing their animals in the forest and appealed to politicians in the region to support the initiative.
Mazingira haijui siasa na haitaki siasa. Misitu haijui siasa na haitaki siasa. Na haitaki kujua wewe ni kabila gani.
Tobiko was speaking during an exercise to plant 18,000 tree seedlings at Kaptagat Forest. During the exercise, World Marathon champion Eliud Kipchoge signed a memorandum of understanding with the Kenya Forest Service Department to plant indigenous trees for the next 5 years on 129 acres of land.
Kaptagat is the best place to train in the whole world. Many people are training all over, but this is the best place. It's a big forest. You can run for more than 2 hours inside the forest. You can train even at noon. That's at 12 o'clock when the sun is really high. Usually I will be planting bamboo and indigenous trees. Only indigenous trees. Yes.
Uasin Gishu Governor Jackson Mandago called upon the government to relocate people living in the escarpments and allocate them forest land to avoid losing life due to landslides.
Kuna watu wanaishi kwa escarpment, very dangerous place ambayo ina experience mudslides. Hizo sehemu tunataka kuomba serikali. And these are we have to be as government also flexible in our thinking and policy. And where it is necessary to amend policy, let us amend to suit humanity. Elgeyo Marakwet County wanaweza keti na wakaaji wale wanaishi kwa escarpment. Wakubaliane au watoke kwa escarpment to convert your escarpment ikuwe forest. Na unajua miti ikimea kwa escarpment, my friend, huwezi kata.
Calvin Chitwa, TV47, Elgeyo Marakwet County.
Elsewhere, circumcisers from the Bukusu community in Trans Nzoia County have called on the government to allow them carry on with the community's circumcision rite in the month of August. Now, the circumcisers say they are ready to observe set guidelines to contain the spread of coronavirus. Moses Baraza reports.
The Bukusu community carries out circumcision of its teen boys each even year. The rite of passage is preceded by a knife cleansing ritual which sets stage for the circumcision exercise. However, this year's exercise might be crippled by the coronavirus containment protocols.
Tulionelea kwamba wacha tutengeneze hii vizu alafu tuweke. Kama itatokelezea wakati tu waseme corona imeisha, kazi ikianza tuwe kwa mstari wa mbele tuwe tufanye kazi.
Hii kisu wakati tunatengeneza, yani kisu iko tayari.
wakati tunaenda kutaisa mtoto mwenyewe wakati unaambia maneno, mtoto afuate masharti ambaye umeambiwa yeye. Asije akateresa hiyo masharti ambaye tumetengeneza yeye na kisu. Kwa sababu akiruka mambo ambaye tumemweleza, yeye mwenyewe atapatikana shida.
The circumcisers expressed concern over plans to postpone the exercise, saying it will interfere with the cultural calendar, which is normally carried out after every 2 years. They said it will not be sensible for those who are due for the cut to postpone the rite of passage to manhood.
Tunaruanga mwaka moja, tunatahiri 22. Sasa ilikuwa ndakana tutahiri mwaka hii 2020. Alafu 2021 tunaruka. 2022 tunatahiriwa. Watu tunaruka mwaka moja katikati. Mtu anaweza kuwa fulani kwa bomba, mzaa amekuwa tayari, mtu anataka kutahiri, ataitwa mtahesaji kwa bomba yake. Ataosha mtoto, atasimamisha bali pale na mtoto atatahiriwa. Si lazima utaimba wimbo ati mtu aende mtoni. Kwa sababu kwa mtoni uko labda kwa sababu mambo ya corona saa hizi, mambo haitakikani.
Na mimi nasema hivi, hatuwezi kupoteza kimila yetu. Maana kimila hii, hata kama mtu alikuwa kama amekufa, lazima paka kimila ifanyike. Na mtu ile alileta hiyo kitairiwa, alikuwa Abraham na mwanamke yake na mtoto yake Isaac.
As the month of August draws near, the circumcisers are calling for the session with the county's coronavirus emergency response team to set ground rules that they should follow as they perform the cultural rite. They insist the cultural rite is a critical one.
Niko na mtoto hapa aka na 20 years. Huyo mtoto endapo hata tairi mwaka huu, hiyo mwaka ingine unajua tena ikuje imupite. Hii mzaa atakuwa tena mzaa mtu amemea ndefu kabisa, hata anakuwa na uoga, hawezi kuenda kutairi. Na huyo mtoto lazima akikufa this time, huyo mtoto mpaka lazima atairishwe ndio azikwe. So tutaomba tu serikali kama itaweza kuturuhusu kwa hii nafasi, endapo nitakuwa nimeitwa kama mtairishaji na nimeitwa, baba niko na mtoto wangu nataka ukuje unifanyie kazi, serikali ituruhusu na itupe hiyo nafasi tuishughulikie badala ya kubani kila kitu.
Boniface Barasa, TV47, Trans Nzoia County.
Well, genuine concerns right there. Now, learners in Ahero area within Bahati, Nakuru County are making good use of their time at home during this time of the COVID-19 pandemic to make a living for their families through innovations and use of talent. The 12 children aged between 10 and 13 years are making and selling home decorations, skipping ropes for kids and key holders from bottles top seals they collect from area dam sites. As COVID-19 pandemic escalates within the country, the long stay at home has opened up opportunities for some learners living in informal settlements as access to online study proves to be a hurdle for them. In Ahero area within Bahati, Nakuru County, learners are making good use of their time at home to make a living for their families through innovations and use of talent.
Tulijana kwa chupa, tukasema tuweze unda nazo kamba ama vitu za kuweka vifunguo. Hivyo tulianzia sasa kuunda na tunakuwa wengi, sio mtu mmoja ama wawili, tunakuwa wengi.
In a group of 12, the children are using their free time to collect bottle top seals from dam sites in the area to make decorations in homes and also skipping ropes for kids.
Mwingine ayatoka ile akitoka hivyo.
One of them, Francis Karemi, a class 7 pupil, said they thought of how they can turn waste into gold through making of key holders in a bid to keep themselves busy and in the process make the environment clean.
Ilikuwa hivi, akaifinya hivi, akaingisha. Kuingisha, akaona kuna kitu inaweza jenga, akasema tuendelee kujenga.
Upon completing their home studies, the 12 meet up and go to Ahero dam site where they collect bottle top seals and place them in water before bending the same and intertwining them to make a rope. After the process, the ropes are left to dry before being placed back into the water to ensure the equipment is firm before selling it or using the same in their home spots.
Ni kama 60 minutes, sali moja kutengeneza kamba mzima. Hiyo ndefu kabisa tunauza kama 150.
Joseph Karanja from LSTL Foundation says they were impressed by the invention and pledged to support the children.
Ningeomba serikali kwa kitu kama hii waweze kukuja na mikakati ama projects ambazo zitakuwa zikiinua hawa watoto kwa sababu wenyewe tumeona wanaweza kujisimamia.
Akikuja kutuone kama ataweza.
Parents of the children and residents too are impressed with the inventions.
Sasa siwezi sema ni shule, lakini inawasaidia na viatu, saa zingine inawasaidia na kununua hata mboga kwa nyumba, juu hatuna shamba.
Despite the corona factor in our society, they have been able to become so creative, and we are seeing them doing very well.
The education sector has become the worst hit, with students forced to stay at home for 3 months now, and with a surge of cases, a possible reopening seems far from nigh. And to a rather unfortunate story here, Alam, as over 20 underage girls in Kandara Muranga County are either pregnant or have given birth recently. According to Auntie Jigas and the Executive Director of Ahadi Trust, Stanley Kamau, the young girls are denied justice by chiefs who block defilement cases from reaching the courts by offering to be arbitrators. Zainab Mohammed with the details.
The rising teenage pregnancy during the COVID-19 pandemic has been an ongoing debate over the past few weeks, and even as the government continues to term the alarming statistics as untrue, more and more cases are being reported across the country. Kungunduini area of Kandara in Muranga County is the latest to record an alarming number of teenage pregnancies in the shortest period of time. Over 20 underage girls in the area have been reported to be pregnant or to have given birth recently.
Niko na miaka 17. Nilikuwa nasoma Katito Secondary. Nilikuwa form 2. Nilipatana na kijana tukawa plates. Sasa nikapata ball,
Namtafutia nikampeleka huko polisi, akakuja akabebwa ni polisi usiku na hiyo jamaa. Kuenda huko kwa station nikasikia mtoto wangu iko na mimba ya miezi 5.
According to Ahadi Trust Executive Director Stanley Kamau, those disputing the numbers are only making an already dire situation worse. Kamau says even one case of teenage pregnancy should be a matter of concern.
Country, we need to take this issue of early pregnancies very, very seriously. It does not matter the number of children who are affected. Whether it's 1 or 2 or 1,000 or 1,000,000, it doesn't matter. One child being affected by this issue is already a big issue.
The Anti-Jiga Crusader further blames the area chiefs for stopping defilement cases from reaching the courts by offering to act as arbitrators between the defilers and the victims, hence denying the young girls justice.
I've talked to several mothers and several of the guardians, and one of the reasons why they are not taking action is because the cases are taking too long in court. They are taking so long that by the time the cases are finalized, the teenagers or the young girls are already in secondary school, some are already married, and they feel it's more stigmatizing when you have a case going for so long, especially for these young children.
Stanley further decried intolerance by parents who end up chasing the pregnant minors from home. He observes that the cruelty from the parents drives the girls to procure abortions.
Kati niliambia kijana niko na ball, aliniambia hiyo nitoe mimba, na nikamwambia sitoa mtoto ni wangu.
There are women who their work is to aid abortion of those young children. And I want to condemn those acts.
As young girls stay at home during the COVID-19 pandemic, it is the responsibility of both the parents and the government to ensure that young girls are protected from being preyed on by ill-meaning adults. For TV47, I'm Zainab Mohammed.
And while babies are a blessing, it is indeed sad to receive such reports. And it's time again that we take a short break. We'll be right back with much more. Welcome back, and now to the feature story that we've all been waiting for. A mega high-end hotel is set to be constructed inside Nairobi National Park, a project that has gotten wildlife lovers worried. Conservationists fear that the project will add to the external and never-ending pressures that have been meted on wild animals at the park. Joash has that untold story.
It's early in the morning in Nairobi National Park. The hippos chilling, waiting for the sunrise, and the birds are waiting to swim. This park, the only one found in a city globally, was established and gazetted by the government in 1946. The park occupies more than 11,000 acres. Initially, the animals from the park moved freely to their neighborhood without disturbance, but human-wildlife conflict became a norm around the park over time. And now, environmental experts say the trend is worrying. Godfrey Otieno Onyango is an environmental scientist and a lead expert with NEMA.
Green bulk hunter imekula kidogo. Kuna hii SGR imeingia. Kuna hii invasive species imeingia. Tunasikia nyati zimetolewa wapi? Kutoka kwenye park ya Nairobi zimepelekwa Tsavo National Park. Swali ni hivi, yote ni dalili ya nini? Kuna mpango pengine hatujui imefanywa park inakula tu pole pole. Vile miaka zinazidi kwenda park inazidi kwa kidogo. Alafu utasema hatuhitaji park.
Continuous mushrooming of projects in the park have posed a threat to the ecosystem. The SGR and now the high-end hotel master plan. Environment enthusiasts are opposed to the hotel project.
Further construction is deliberately killing the ecosystem in Nairobi National Park.
The radiance of the morning light, the beauty soon to fade, the pure energy, the metaphor of virginity is now threatened by hard times. Nairobi's city human population has grown from thousands of people in the colonial era to over 4 million people today. That growth in human population has exerted pressure on many natural resources, and human-wildlife conflict have become a norm. A development that contributed to confining the animals to the west and south of Nairobi. Now, Nairobi National Park.
A wild animal is just like a human being. It will go through depression because it's aware that it's not supposed to be here this particular season. And when it's stressed, at the same time, the population is going to be affected.
The big problem which I'm seeing is that as we get closer to these animals, we shall experience more zoonotic diseases. Yeah? Zoonotic diseases are those diseases which are transmitted from wild animal to human beings. Okay? And the same with things like COVID, which has happened.
This park is home to over 500 bird species and different animal species like Cape buffalo, baboons, Grant's zebra, lions, impala, Maasai giraffe, and indigenous plants like acacia bushes, Olea africana, and many others. Maureen Some, a young environment conservationist who runs Wild Now Foundation, launched in 2019, says the expected hotel project in the park is a misadvised project which did not take into consideration the welfare of the life of animals in the park.
Furthering the constructions actually will worsen the conditions of wildlife species, and probably even the population will reduce, when we already know that for you to have to improve on the tourism in Kenya, we need wildlife. If this is in the essence of improving the tourism experience, then I think we have failed as Kenyans. So as much as we are trying to deal with human-wildlife conflict, as much as we are trying to also improve on our tourism experience, let's also not forget what wildlife needs and what we as humans want for our economy.
The wildlife here enjoy their catch. Some are gazing and others Santa Leslie. The park is home, but fear is Reef that this homely feeling could soon be gone. The home will soon get new visitors.
We do need to come up with ways to improve their experiences as tourists, but that doesn't mean we need to go ahead and interfere with the normal lifestyle of a wild animal. Wildlife needs space to be a wild animal. Wildlife needs to thrive in its natural habitat, and the best way to deal with improving the tourism experience is to improve on conservation.
This unique recreational facility that receives guests locally and internationally has left game drive lovers in a dilemma.
This park has about 38 lions, and one of the worst things about what we are doing to this park as humans is because you can come to this park all day long and not get to see a single lion. 100 square kilometers of land with 38 lions, and because of human activity, you can actually come and spend a whole day or two and not get to see lions because of the interference we're doing with this park. But despite that, it's a beautiful place to come to. There's many different places you can go to. There are picnic spots. There's places where you can come with your family and just enjoy family time. It's a nice place to just come sit and just listen to the noises and sounds of nature and just distress about what is going on about life.
Fencing the park, which is now 70%, and the construction of a high-end hotel inside the park will, in the long run, affect the animals and the vegetation.
And closing down on that corridor, fencing the southern part and making it into a confined area for wildlife will be nothing but a big zoo in the long run.
If you go to Hyena Dam, for instance, a lot of bird species we've lost a lot of bird species. We no longer have raids. Why? Because of pollution flowing into Nairobi National Park and all that. So there's a lot that needs to be done, in partnership with the National Environmental Management Authority, Kenya Wildlife Service, the Ministry and all that, to help solve the situation.
For any project carried out by the government to meet the sustainability threshold in any ecosystem, it has to focus on the benefits for the posterity and the life of the creatures around it.
Sustainability is the ability to use our environment or resources in such a way that we don't compromise the ability of future generations to use the same or to enjoy the same.
We reached to KWS for a comment on the planned controversial project, but until the time of airing this story, we did not get any response. After posts online about the construction of a road within the park went viral, KWS denied the claim, saying the construction that is ongoing is being carried out by a local contractor who is improving the road, joining KWS headquarters to Central Workshop inside the park. Reynand Bonke, a friend to the park, highlights on possible alternatives that can be implemented instead of having new projects.
We have alternatives. Of course, there are some facilities that are existing within Nairobi National Park. We have the Nairobi tented camps, we have the clubhouse, we have the Rangers restaurant, all of which are supposed to be improved rather than bringing in new development activities.
Ukileta kitu ambacho ni kigeni kwa mazingira ambayo ni ya wanyama, inakuwa unaharibu yale mazingira, kwa sababu hii nyumba ama hoteli haikuji kuongeza maisha ya wanyamapori kuwa bora, ila inaendelea kuchukua nafasi ambao wanyamapori wanaishi.
The future memories are here. The students pursuing environment-related courses are worried what the future holds for the park and for them.
Hatuwaoni wanyama siku hizi, hatuwaoni wanyama hata wakipita barabara kwa sababu hawana hiyo nafasi ya kukaa kama wanyama.
Nairobi National Park is part of us. Let's protect it.
Nairobi National Park is part of us. Let's protect it.
According to the Constitution, Chapter 42, any project that is intended in the park, the government has to involve the community through public participation.
I wonder where we carried out public participation. We cannot talk of online to be public participation. How many Kenyans have access to computers? That's a big question we need to ask ourselves. How many? And even if they have computers, we need something which is mandated. The communities which are living around the park, the people who use the park, they should be involved in this.
The stakeholders now want the government to take the park serious and protect against external forces that could send it to the oblivion.
We're just calling upon the government, especially the minister, Honorable Najib Balala, to try and find a solution rather than suffocating this park more.
Nairobi National Park is home to different wildlife species, but then at the same time, we as Kenyans are privileged enough to have a national park in a city that gives people the opportunity to go to their offices, and at the same time they can go for a getaway during the weekend.
Joash Onsare, TV47, Nairobi.
Great piece, Joash Onsari and the editorial team at large. Now, moving on to Matters Sports. Kenyan clubs have gone the digital way on Matters training in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic.